In Five Nights at Freddy's Secret of the Mimic, we only get to see the aftermath of Edwin's leadership over the company. But I think the game gives us some clues as to what the business may have been like under his dad, Edwin Sr. In the welcome lobby, we see a framed black and white ad for Fredbear's singing show. It's in an old rubber hose cartoon style, and it's different from the Fredbear Family Diner ads we see elsewhere. This particular ad seems to be framed memorabilia. It's from a time before the Edwin that we get to know. And over in the admin wing, there's more memorabilia celebrating the success of the Mycelium Men, another group famous for their musical talents. One of the collectibles we find in the recording studio is actually a record from the Fredbear singing show. So it seems like Senior, which is what I'll call Edwin's dad, was popular for not just making the costumes. No, he was also responsible for the music as well. In his company portrait, he even wears a tie that references one of the Mycelium Men. But where am I going with this? I think the voice used for Sleepy Moon is actually Senior's singing voice.
Lullaby and good night with roses bed light.
The person singing in that costume sounds older, more old-timey. In the game, we don't get very much info on Edwin's dad, Senior, but what we do get seems to be there just to show us how different he and Edwin were. Edwin's not as good as his dad at management, at running the MCM. He's more interested in inventing. He's a dweeb. He can't fill his dad's shoes. Etc., etc., a tale as old as time. But, so what if Edwin used his dad's lullaby in Sleepy Moon? Why would that be important? Well, that brings me to moon.exe. So we start out in some kid's bedroom. First things we can notice are that many of the objects in the room seem to be classic MCM merchandise. We see a Mycelium Men poster, Roxy hat, Hudgy mask. Many things that would signal to us that this is David's room, right? Well, no, it's not David's room. We'll see David's room later on in the game. I actually think it's Edwin's room. And the enemy in this game, the moon, is actually supposed to represent, again, Senior. This room is more representative of Edwin's room when he was a kid growing up with his dad running the MCM. And there are some clues in the first level that support this theory. First, the trophy. It says we took it from the moon's bedroom. The moon who lives with us in our home. The moon is our male parent. Then there's the note. A note on our desk. We asked the moon to bring back the sun. Now, as little as we get to know about Edwin's dad, we get nearly nothing about his mom, except for one piece of mail from William Afton that mentions both of his parents built the house together. Now, there are no portraits of her, no mentions of her elsewhere, so we can assume she died many years before his father. And finally, the toy phone. The phone where a child says that, quote, he never sees me. While these clues could also be a reference to Edwin and David's relationship, I think it's about Edwin and Senior's because Edwin is the one who created this program, and I'll explain why later. But back to the point, Edwin was an admittedly brilliant inventor. The Cleanovac did wonders for the business, but despite that, his father would have never known that. He never got to make any inventions for the company until after his dad passed away. It's like his dad never saw his potential. He never sees him. Even when Edwin was working for his dad, he never saw him. When he meets Fiona, she doesn't even know he's the owner's son. I think that moon.exe follows a symbolic timeline starting in childhood that goes through Edwin's life. When he breaks out of the room, that's Edwin reaching adulthood. Outside, we pick up at the point after the Fall Fest fire that claimed Fiona's life. The program tells us explicitly that we are outside of our home, the home that we had shared with Moon and Sun. Out here, we see an empty nest where a mother and a baby owl should be, but the nest is empty except for a chica cup. Now, already in the game, there's been a connection established between Fiona and Chica. Next to the tree where we find that nest, there's an alligator trying to eat a baby owl. Now, I presume that this particular gator has already eaten the mother owl. Since it seems this same gator has been connected to Fazbear via the floats in the loading bay, I think it means that Fazbear was responsible for the fire after all. After we save the baby, it starts to follow us throughout the forest. Now, we enter what's labeled as the Dark Forest. This seems to represent the aftermath of Fiona's passing, the dark time, so to speak, in Edwin's life, or at least the beginning. Dark ruins show a burned bride, a ruined home, a groom with an out-of-place bow tie, which is kind of heavy-handed because Edwin was bad at running the business, and it's symbolic of how he was out of place as the leader of the company. At a dark fountain, we even find a burned down seamstress shop. Everything is destroyed, but it says that her loom survived, which is curious. The closest real world item I can think this could be symbolic of is the springlock arm in the workshop area of the MCM. It still works after all. Eventually, we reach a rundown cabin with a bear on its porch. Obviously, this is representative of the research and development area of the MCM. Inside, we find an old woman, a mask maker, who identifies herself as Sun, this being a stand-in for F10N4. She invites us to repair 3 masks, all suspiciously in the shape of Fazbear characters. While we're occupied fixing those, it's implied that she actually cooks our baby owl and then makes us a mask using his image. Obviously, this is about when we lost David. With this mask, she wants us to go into a cave, and when we get there, the moon sees us in the mask and starts to openly weep, allowing us to get past him and go inside. There, we see a memorial statue of the baby owl and a text that tells us that we will bring him back, no matter the cost. Now, the purpose for coming into the cave ultimately involves finding parts to build a new moon statue. Now, once we do that, the moon statue seems to come to life, and we black out and come to inside the welcome show of the MCM. From here on, we have the POV of the statue that we had just put together. Mr. Helper tells us that we have rebuilt ourselves, but hold on. If we rebuilt ourselves and what we rebuilt was a moon statue, doesn't that confirm that we, the player, are also a moon? Just like the enemy of our game, but that would make sense, wouldn't it? If the moon is our dad and we grow up to become a moon too, then when we rebuild ourselves, that will be a moon as well. As the new moon, we go through the MCM, and by using non-violence and gift exchanges, we are able to neutralize Jackie, Big Top, Dolly, and Chica. In the end, we can take David's birthday presents up to his room. We read his storybook, and in the end, we're finally granted the glitch permission from the real Sun. Yes, the real Sun, damn it. But let's back up a little bit. This is not the real Sun that we find in the cabin. This is a liar and a poser in a sun mask. She is a mask maker, after all. She is presented as a witch-like figure who manipulates us, and it seems highly likely that she's the one who heard our owl and then lied about it.
You raggedy bitch.
Then she wants us to use the mask she makes from the corpse, I guess, to lie to the moon. She has no problems lying, clearly, and that is also true for F10 and 4. She's old, she walks with a cane, she has this witch energy, and really does the bare minimum to even appear like the sun. I don't like her, y'all. I don't like her. But anyway, the real sun gives us the upgrade and the program ends. So what's the point? Let's look at what we're actually doing. We're going through a timeline of Edwin's life, some of his memories from childhood to the creation of a new moon that is meant to be better than us and the enemy of the game. Now, interestingly, the new moon is in the shape of a waning crescent, which is the last phase of the moon cycle right before the new moon, which is kind of off topic, but I think there's some symbolism there. Throughout the game, any mistake we make is met with a parental scolding instead of an attack like an actual enemy. The moon never actually tries to harm us at any point in the game. In fact, the moon saves us if we make any mistakes that could bring us harm. So, is Senior the moon or is Edwin the moon? They both are. They are both fathers who seem to allow the business to come before family and wind up neglecting their motherless sons. From what we can gather from the game, both Edwin and David lost their moms at a young age. And you may say, well, hold on. F10 and 4 made this program. No. I don't think she did. I think Edwin made this program. Specifically, I believe that the moon program is sneakily the finished M2 program. The same program that F10 has been pestering him to finish for the M2 robot. Think about it. If F10 could code programs, then why would she keep needing Edwin to finish it? Why not just finish it without waiting for him if that's her ultimate goal? Moon.exe is a training application meant for the M2 endoskeleton. The glitch permission, it provides an update that corrects the behavior of the dysfunctional M2. It not only teaches it how to be a better version of Edwin, complete with pertinent memories, but it also teaches it how to problem solve without the violence and gives it the proper boundaries it needs to be safe to be around people. Notice how F10 never mentions the program to Arnold. It's because she doesn't even know about it. It's Edwin's finished Moon 2 M2 program. And by that point, he had cut her off from communicating with him. We have to rebuild ourselves in the game. We create a second moon, a Moon 2, an M2. And in the secret ending, we use the upgrade to basically upload that finished program to the endoskeleton. And in a way, we bring David back just like the game tells us we will. But there's more. Remember how Helper says we are split, part sun, part moon, part destruction, part life? Well, we are. In that last audio log, M2 has literally taken on Edwin's identity, which should have been a success based off what I think he was out to accomplish. To create a robot version of himself the way he was able to make a robot version of Fiona. We know that David is also in there somewhere. Edwin, as good as his intentions were, was a destructive force. He destroyed his family business just like he thought he would, mind you. So, if he is the moon and the destruction, shouldn't Fiona be the other part? No, it's David. Meanwhile, David wasn't the son, but he was their son. One collectible we can find it in David's hideout, is the Star Orphan Nightlight, or Sunlight. The M2 is now part moon, part sun. And there's some symbolism in there about how David carried on Fiona's sun, the light of Fiona, sun energy, blah, 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 etc. But I don't exactly know how to articulate that, but you know what I mean. Going back to her email, F10 and 4, this also explains what she meant by protect David even though he was already gone. She meant to protect the part of him that attached itself to the M2 robot and the facility. One last reason why I think Edwin made the program: if you slow down the last part of the game, it seems to contain his initials in a final signature of sorts before it turns off.